All right, everybody, welcome back. We're going to do a deep dive today into something that I think is pretty cool. I mean, it's Access databases.
Very cool.
And specifically how we can really kind of get in there and pull some information out using Power Query.
Right.
And specifically, we're going to be talking about one function called Access.Database.
All right.
And we've got the technical documentation right here in front of us.
Okay.
So let's just jump right into it.
Sounds good.
So this whole thing, this Power Query.
Yeah.
Keep talking about this thing called Power Query M.
Right.
What is that?
So Power Query M is like the scripting language of Power Query.
Okay.
And it lets you do all kinds of really, really cool stuff with your data.
Like what?
Like data mashups.
Okay.
So you can take data from an Access database. You can take data from like a text file. You can take data from the web.
Right.
And you can kind of like combine it all together using Power Query M.
So it's like taking like ingredients from different recipes. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like making a whole new dish.
I like that. Okay, so
A data dish.
a data dish. Okay, so how does this Access.Database function fit into all this?
So the Access.Database function basically lets you connect to an Access database file.
Okay.
And then it returns a structured representation of that database.
Okay, when you say structured representation, what is that?
So that's a fancy way of saying that it gives you like a map of the database.
Oh, okay.
You know, so you can see all the tables, you can see all the fields.
Gotcha.
You can see the relationships between the tables, and you can use that information to then start querying the data and transforming it and, you know.
So it's not just like spitting out like a jumbled mess of information. It's like organized.
It's giving you the blueprint of the database.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the syntax here, and I see it says binary and then optional options in parentheses.
Right.
What's the deal with binary?
So binary is just referring to the actual Access database file itself.
Gotcha.
So, you know, it's like a file that ends in .accdb or .mdb.
Okay.
And that's what you're feeding into the Access.Database function.
So it's just telling it where to go get the data.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then what about these optional options?
So the optional options give you a little bit more control over how the Access.Database function works.
Okay.
So for example, one of the options is called create navigation properties.
That sounds interesting. What is that?
So navigation properties are basically like links between the tables in your database.
Okay.
So if you have like a customers table and an orders table, you might have a navigation property that links the customers table to the orders table.
Okay.
And that allows you to kind of easily navigate between those two tables.
So you can see like which orders belong to which customer.
Exactly.
Without having to like do a bunch of like,
right.
queries and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to like manually join the tables or anything like that.
Oh, very cool. Okay.
Yeah. So the create navigation properties option lets you specify whether you want to create those navigation properties when you import the database.
Gotcha. So I could just say like, yes, create them, or no, I don't want them.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there's another option called navigation property name generator.
Okay. And what does that do?
So that option lets you control how the navigation properties are named.
Okay.
So by default, Power Query will just kind of like use a generic naming scheme for the navigation properties.
Okay.
But if you want to, you can use this option to like customize the names of the navigation property.
So I could name it like, customer orders or something.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it just gives you a little bit more control over, how the data is structured when you import it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So we've talked about this Access.Database function.
Right.
We talked about Power Query M. We've talked about data mashups. What is like the big takeaway here? Like, why should people care about all this?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that Power Query and the M language can really unlock a lot of potential in your data.
Okay.
A lot of people are using Access databases to store their data.
Right.
And a lot of times that data is kind of like locked away in those databases.
Yeah.
But with Power Query and the M language, you can really easily connect to those databases. You can pull the data out, you can transform it, you can analyze it, you can visualize it.
So you're saying like if we have these Access databases and we're not using Power Query, we're kind of missing out.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there that people aren't tapping into.
Okay.
And Power Query makes it really easy to do that.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm definitely inspired to go and try this out with my own data now.
Awesome. Yeah.
And see what kind of data dishes I can cook up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.